So for this game, it looks like we have what is mostly a sequencing game, but with kind of a grouping component. So what's happening here is that we're going to have a bunch of these grants that are going to be given in these 4 consecutive quarters. So the quarters can just go 1, 2, 3, 4, nothing surprising there. But each of these quarters could have potentially several grants in them. So you do have a bit of a grouping aspect to the game as well. Now, beyond that, the elements themselves, who do we have? M, T, W, and Y. And the one other thing that they do give us up front is that every single quarter definitely has to have something. So there's at least one space in each. From there, let's take a look at the rules. So the first rule says that we have to have grants in every area. So I guess we have to have a minimum of 1 each. So basically none of these could not show up. We have to have 1 of everything at the very least. Next, no more than 6 grants are awarded. So that's actually a pretty significant rule, because if we're maxed out at 6, that means that, I mean, yes, we could have duplicates of these, though we don't have to, but at the very minimum, we definitely have to have 4 because we have to have 1 of each. So if we have, let's say, the maximum of 6, we would have potentially an extra 2 grants given. So I suppose that means that we could have 2 of these grants have an extra 1, in which case you would have 2 extras that gets you up to 6. Or you could have 1 of these grants, so for example, M, show up 3 times, in which case that's 2 extra, so that gets you up to 6. And that's really the only 2 ways to go, and you want to be mindful of that. Basically, if you want to get up to 6 grants given away, and that's the maximum, there's only 2 ways that we can do that. Either we're going to have 2 people double up, or we're going to have 1 person show up 3 times on the board. Next, let's keep going. No grants in the same area are awarded in the same quarter or in consecutive quarters. So I guess you can't have the same thing showing up in the same quarter, and we can't have them showing up consecutively either. Although actually, wait a minute, if we have only 4 quarters, then a triple isn't really an option anymore, because if you had somebody showing up 3 times, then you would have to have them consecutively next to each other at least once. There would be no way to avoid that. So I guess a triple isn't really an option. You could only really ever have doubles in this game. Next, let's keep going. Exactly 2 medical services grants are awarded. Ooh, that's a big one. So we have to have exactly 2 M's on the board, which also reinforces that we couldn't possibly have triples, because now that we know we have exactly 2 M's, that means that you can't have 3 M's, and if you want to get up to 6, you would only be allowed 1 more double. Now, this also means that we're now no longer at a minimum of 4, we now have to have a minimum of 5. So there's not that much flexibility. We have to have at least 5, since we have to have 1 of each and 2 M's, and we could potentially have 1 more to get up to 6. So the only real variability there is that we could still double 1 of T, W, or Y, but we don't have to, right? So we could have T, W, Y all be singles, or we could have only 1 of them double up as well. Lastly, a wildlife preservation has to be given in quarter 2. So 2 has to be a W, and we can just plug that right into the board. So from here, can we exhaust this? Can we do anything more with this? I suppose, I mean, there's not really much to go on, but the fact that we have to have 2 M's on the board, we could arguably exhaust that, because there's only so many ways we can do that, considering they can't be consecutive. We could run them in 1 and 3. We could also do 1 and 4, or otherwise you would have to do 2 and 4. That's it. There's only 3 different ways that this can go. Now, to be honest, it's not going to give us anything further, it doesn't look like, because there's barely any restriction on any of the other elements, but that still might be useful just to kind of give you a baseline of how things are going to look like. So we can say, either you're going to have your M's in 2 and 3, or you're going to have your M's in 1 and 4, or you're going to have your M's in 2 and 4. There's only 3 different ways that this can go. As far as the other elements are concerned, we have no clue. I mean, obviously we know that W is here. We could have a second W, which would show up in here in 4, or not, or we can just have just the 1 W, and then T and Y could show up somewhere. So from there, I suppose let's take a look at the questions. So question number 18, this is our standard exclusion question, and as usual, we do it by the rules. So first rule, we have to have at least 1 each. So answer choice A. Ooh, this is going to be a pain in the ass to kind of work through. You know, let's go for the easier rules to pick out. So for example, the second quarter has to have a W. That's an easy one to pick off. And let's see if we can disqualify any answers based on that. So A is good. B we can disqualify already because there's no W there. C looks good. D looks good. E looks good. We also have to have two M's. And I guess we can also cut through the idea that the M's have to be separated by exactly or at least one. So answer choice A, do we have two M's? We don't. We can get rid of answer choice A. Answer choice C, do we have two M's? Yes, and they're separated. They're 2 and 4, so that's fine. Answer choice D, do we have two M's? And yes, and they're separated 1 and 4. And E, do we have two M's? Yes, again, they are separated 1 and 4, so that's good. Now let's go back to the other rules. And now that we used the easier rules to get rid of a couple of answers, we only have to worry about C, D, and E, which is a little bit easier to kind of work with. So once again, the first rule, we have to have a grant in every single area. So that's M, T, W, and Y. Answer choice C, do we have M, T, W, Y? We do, one of each at least. Answer choice D, we have M, T, W, Y. We do, and E has M, T, W, Y. All right, looks like they all follow this. Next, we're told that we have a maximum of 6. Answer choice C. So I guess, yeah, 2 of the quarters have 1 extra. Second and fourth quarter, so that adds you up to 6, we're good. Answer choice D, 2 of the quarters have 1 extra, so we're good. E, ooh, that's not going to work. So you'll notice that for answer choice E, 3 of the quarters, 1, 2, and 4, have an extra grant, which would push you all the way to 7 grants in total, so we can get rid of answer choice E. Next, we're not allowed to have them in the same one can't be in the same quarter or consecutive quarter, so we're just down to C and D. Let's see if anything violates that. So C does not seem to have anything consecutive, so the Y's are separated, the M's are separated. Answer choice D, oh, there we go. Theater arts, we have first and second quarter, that's not cool, so we can get rid of that, and that leaves us with C as the best answer to question number 18. And as usual, I suppose we can plug that into the board. C gives us Y. Then we have WM. Then we've got T and MY. Next, question number 20 is our first local question. Let's take a look and see what we can do with it. If a W and a Y are in the same quarter, so if we have W and Y together, I suppose the question becomes, what does that tell us? Now, they could be together in 2, or they could potentially be together in 4 as well. I mean, we definitely know that we're going to have a W here. I'll be honest, I don't see what more that gives us, though, and we have 2 major plays. So you know what, let's actually use our exhaustions. Essentially, the WY block, it's either going to go over here, and it looks like that's consistent with any of these templates, because you could have a Y here. Although actually, yeah, you could have a Y over here, and then you could have whoever else, the T would go into, yeah, you could have a T in 2 and in 3 because T could still double up. Or you could have perhaps a WY, maybe not in here because that would be too many, but in these 2 scenarios, you could have had a WY block. So you know what, let's play the exhaustions. Let's see if we can do this mentally. You just have to keep in mind that you have to have a WY either in 2 or 4. Answer choice A, what could not be true? And M is in the second quarter, and maybe we said in this template we could have had a W with a Y here, and then T would go into 1 and 3. That could have been okay. Answer choice B, a theater is given in the first quarter, and yeah, same scenario. If you have a WY over here, then a T could be in 1 and a T could be in 3. That would have been fine. Answer choice C, a T is in the second quarter, and maybe, like for example, if you put the WY block over here, then you could have easily fit a T in number 2, and that would have been fine. Answer choice D, a W is in the fourth quarter, and yeah, because we said the WY block could go into 4, so that doesn't seem to be an issue. Answer choice E, a Y is given in the third quarter. Oh yeah, that's not going to work, because if you have to have the WY block either in 2 or in 4, either way you go, there's no way to put a Y into 3 because that would be consecutive. So the best answer to question number 20 is E. Next, number 21. If exactly 2 grants are awarded in just one of the 4 quarters of a given year. So essentially, if only one of these 4 quarters is going to have a double, is going to have 2 grants given, that means that in total we would have to have just 5, right? Because we only have, if you have 1 each, that's 4. If one of them has a double, then that would be 5. And if you're not allowed any more doubles, I mean, that's it. We can't possibly have 6. And a triple in addition wouldn't work because that would push you all the way to 7. So really, if there's only 1 quarter that has and will have a double, then essentially that means that we only have 5 players on the board, and it's going to be the M that's the double, right? Because we know that M has to have 2. So we know that everybody is going to have a single. T, W, Y are going to be just once, and then the M is going to show up twice, as it always does. Now from there, I guess let's see what we can do. The question asks, what could be true? A, 2 Ys, well no, because we said we're only going to be allowed 1 duplicate. Answer choice B, neither an M nor a Y is in the first quarter. Can we have no M and no Y in the first quarter? And maybe in this template, for example, we could have had a T over here, and then this could have been a Y, and then that would follow the rest of the game. So that actually seems legit. Let's hold on to answer choice B. Answer choice C, a W is in the 4th quarter. Well, no, because we already know that a W is in 2, and we're not allowed to duplicate any other element, so that's not going to happen. Answer choice D, a Y and a T are in the 1st quarter. Would you be able to do that? Well, no, because the only template where that would work is over here, but we're only allowed 1 quarter with 2, right? So that would give you another double quarter, so that's not going to fly. Answer choice E, a Y is granted in the 1st quarter and a T is in the 2nd quarter. No, because then that would mean that if you have a Y in the 1st quarter and a T in the 2nd, no matter what, you're either going to have 2 quarters with 2 things, or here you would have to have a triple in the 2nd quarter, and that's not going to work. So the best answer here is answer choice B for question number 1. Next, number 22 is global. We'll come back to it. Let's take a look at number 23. It will be fully determined what's awarded in each quarter if which of the following was true. So we're basically looking for something that would lock down the game completely. Let's take a look. Answer choice A. 2 theater grants are awarded. Now, if we have 2 T's on the board, now, to be honest, that seems like it would be consistent with all of these templates, wouldn't it? Because couldn't you have a T here and a T over there, for example? Or in this scenario, a T here and a T there. And even within these, you could instead have a T here and a T there, and then this could be a Y. So this doesn't seem like it would do much to lock the game completely. Next, answer choice B. 2 youth services grants are awarded. And actually, wait, no. T and Y are logically identical elements in this game, aren't they? Because there's nothing that applies to one that wouldn't apply to the other. So A and B are effectively logically identical answers. Neither can be the answer choice, because then they would both have to be the right answer. So we can get rid of B for the same reason, really. Answer choice C. 3 grants are awarded in the 1st quarter. Could we have 3? Well, not could we. Would that lock the game if we had 3 grants in the 1st quarter? And again, wouldn't that be consistent with, for example, if you look at these 2 templates, you could have MTY here, and then you could have MTY here. And then in here or here, you could just have one of T or Y, for example, doubling up. And that would work, right? So both of these scenarios, both of these templates would work. So if we have 2 templates that would work, that wouldn't be enough to lock the game. Next, answer choice D. 3 grants are in the 2nd quarter. So if we tripled the 2nd quarter, so in this template, I guess you would have to have W, T, and Y, and that would, and then this, but this would then have to be any of them really, W, T, or Y. So that also wouldn't be enough to lock the game, because even in this template, you would have variability, because if you put W, T, Y, almost anybody can be here as long as it's not M, so that also wouldn't be enough to lock the game. Answer choice E, 3 grants are awarded in the 3rd quarter. So if we have 3 grants in the 3rd quarter, so, we're running out of options, but let's see. If we have, in the first template, if this was an M, then, I guess it would have to be a t and a y over here because this is already a w. So we would have to have m, t, and y. Oh, and then this would have to be a w because nobody else could go in the fourth quarter, and that would lock the game. But that's only the first template. What about the other templates? And actually, I guess, no, these couldn't work because there's no way to have a triple here, and there's no way to have a triple here, because if we have a W here and an M there, and same thing here, then the only people that could go into this position would be T and Y, and that's not a triple. So if we have to have 3 grants in the third quarter, these two templates don't work, so that would force you into this template. And in this template, you would have to have MTY, and then the only person who would go here is a W, which is your second double. And that takes care of it, right? So that would lock the game. The best answer to question 23 is E. Next, let's go back to the globals. Number 19, what cannot ever happen? Let's take a look. Answer choice A. In each of the 2 quarters in which medical is given, nothing else is awarded. So could the 2 medicals be entirely alone? And maybe, I mean, in the TOPS template, for example, we still have to have a Y and a T, but couldn't we put them both here, for example, and call it a day? Or one of them could be here. So the M seemingly could be alone. That seems fine. Answer choice B. Exactly 2 T's, 1 and 2 and 1 and 4. Could we have a T and 2 and 4? And yeah, why not? Like again, in template A, T here, T there. That seems safe. And then throw a Y somewhere on the board. I don't see the issue. Answer choice C. Exactly 2 Y's, 1 and 1 and 3. So could we have a Y in 1, for example, and a Y in 3? And yeah, why not? You put a T over there and we're good. That seems plausible. Answer choice D, 2 W's and 2 Y's. Could we have 2? Oh no, that definitely can't happen because we're only allowed 1 extra double, right? M is already a double, and because we're at a maximum of 6, then we're only allowed 1 of these 3 other ones to double up. So you can't have 2 of the W's and 2 of the Y's. So the best answer to question number 19 is D. Just in case, so let's take a look at E. 3 grants in the fourth quarter. Could we have 3 things over here? And yeah, I mean, maybe. Couldn't you, for example, over here, could you do, we can't do an M next to an M, but we could do a W, a Y, and a T. And that seems okay, right? W would double up and everybody else, Y and T are singles, and that would be fine. So E seems like it could work. Once again, best answer to number 19 is D. Lastly, question number 22. What cannot happen in a given year? So let's take a look. A, 3 grants in a given quarter, none of which is M. So can we have 3 without an M? So if you don't have an M, that would be T, W, and Y. And actually, yeah, we just discussed that. We could have had a T, a W, and a Y over here in 4, and nothing would really break. So that seems like it could work. Answer choice B, could we have exactly 2 in the first quarter and exactly 2 in the third? So could we have 2 here and 2 there? And yeah, maybe you could have a Y over here and a T over there. And then this could be another W, in which case we would be fine. So that seems like it could work. Answer choice C. Could we have 2 in the first and 2 in the fourth? So could this be a double and this be a double? And again, why not? You could have a WY here and a WT over here, and that would seem to work fine. So again, answer choice D. Could we have T in 1 and 4 with nothing else in those quarters? So could you have T alone in 1 and... Oh no, that never happens because you'll notice that 1 or 4 is going to have to be an M no matter what, right? So we have an M in 1 over here, an M in 1 over here, and an M in 4 over here. So there's no way for both of those to ever be T alone. So D would be the best answer to question number 22. Just in case though, once again, let's take a quick look at answer choice E. W is in 2 and 4 with nothing else. So could W go into 2 and 4 alone? And yeah, like for example, in this top template, W could be here, and then there could be nothing else in those quarters, and then Y and T could go into 1 and 3, and everything works. So once again, best answer to 22 is D.